this music. All righty. Could y'all hear me say I really dig that music?
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh, crap. Well, now I know I can talk if I want to while we're doing the intro.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
So here we are together again. Together again. Old song from the 50s. We got Crystal T, Baruti Spa. And we have Lou Ann Morris, Herbal Lou. And then we got me, Deborah Rose.
The woman with 500 websites and 20 jobs.
Oh my God. I'm telling you what, don't even get me started. So here we are at the Crystal Clear Point Studios. And today, Lou Ann picked a subject that she wanted to talk about that's near and dear to her heart. What is it?
Well, I don't know that it's near and dear, but when somebody says, what are we going to talk about? And I sit there and think, well, let's see. What's been on my mind lately? Here's what's been on my mind.
I'm
Do
not
you
going to
have a pivotal moment? Whether it's now, later, early in your life, maybe it was more than one, when you said, yeah, I got to start over, or maybe you weren't given a choice. Maybe you knew because of the circumstances you had to start over. So what was it, and how did you go about it?
My immediate response to that is I am 53 years old. And at this point, every day is starting over from scratch, it feels like most days. When have I not started something new or been forced to or by choice? It's just like, oh God, I'm like that Ermagerd.
Well, let me tell you something. I've been married 5 times and I have been self-employed since my early 20s. Yes, I have started over many, doing my Blanche Devereaux impersonation. Yes, many. I mean, many times.
So,
but the key word was pivotal, I think, right?
Yeah.
How is it not pivotal to start over? That's defined pivotal. I mean, when you're changing the complete focus or direction of your life, that's got to be pivotal, don't you think?
Well, to pivot just simply means to change direction. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be monumental change of direction. It be something minor. And the reason why I say that because large growth comes from small changes and small pivots.
Then pivotal is an unnecessary word in this description. Have you had change in your life? Because that's kind of redundant.
Well, I think, but also, how do you define pivotal? Because when you look at common lexicon of pivotal, that means okay, this is a momentous pivot. So this is a large pivot. So how do you differentiate? So because one like something pivotal or large for you, Deborah, or for you might be something minor for me. Does that make sense? Or vice versa?
Okay, so I'll go out on a limb and I'll answer this question as transparently and as truthful as I can. It was a pivotal moment when I was going through my first divorce and my husband raped me. That was pivotal. It really changed my mindset about a lot of things. It was pivotal when my second husband died after we'd been married a year. That changed my focus on many things. It was pivotal when I almost got beaten to death, putting a guy in jail, because I totally changed directions in my life. I changed my career and everything when that happened. So those are 3 major ones right there. What a downer, huh?
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, when my parents died, that was my pivotal moment. They died within 2 years of each other, and I was only 21, barely. So
Were you still living at home or were you out of the house?
no, I was living at home,
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
and um, on top of that, some very well-meaning people at church told me that my mom was going to be fine and come home.
What?
My mom would be fine and she would be at home.
When she died?
Well, they felt that she was going to get better. And they told me
Oh.
that she was going to get
Oh.
better. And I don't know about you, but when you're young and you're influenced by everyone at church because you know them so well, they know you so well, I believed them.
Well,
I
thank
didn't
God
have
I
a
don't
reason
believe
not
everything
to.
the people at church told me because they told me I was going to hell.
Well, I don't believe them anymore, but
Good.
I mean, I was very innocent in that I felt they knew what they were talking about.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So you took a deep breath, you relaxed, you let your guard down, and then you got sideswiped by a big old yellow bus because something unexpected happened because your mother wasn't fine and she passed, right?
Right, right.
Okay. So
And
I
of
just make
course,
sure
no
we
one,
understood.
my mother and father, neither one talked about it.
Well, your mother was dead, so she couldn't talk about it.
I meant before she passed. She was in the hospital before she passed. And at Christmas time, she passed at January 11th. But at Christmas time, I was like, Dad, let's bring mom home for today.
Got it.
You would have thought I asked him to go rob the Fort Knox.
Why?
He was not bringing her home. She's not coming here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he didn't want her dying at home.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a big, big perspective to deal with.
So
Yeah.
instead of him saying, I don't want your mom to die at home, he would just kept saying, no, she's not coming home for Christmas.
Well, that's a little different from what you hear, especially in this day and age, because most people want to die at home and they want their loved ones to pass at home so that they're with loved ones in soft surroundings and comfortable surroundings and stuff like that. So that is a really different perspective. What do you think? What do you think provoked that?
I think that he was afraid that if she did, he wouldn't be able to live there.
She'd haunt
It's
him?
hard. It's hard. It
I
is.
think
It's,
that his whole mindset was she can't live here, she can't die here because if she does, I can't stay.
Yeah, I was the same way when my husband died. I had to get out of that house and I went and lived with friends for a year that on the daycare center that Joshua went to. He was also my attorney. It was such an incestuous thing on so many
Yeah.
levels. But
Yeah,
yeah, I get that.
it's hard because my mom never wanted to die in a hospital. She wanted to die at home and she wanted to die with family. Most of all, she did not want to die on the toilet. Thank God she didn't die on the toilet, but she did die on her way to the toilet. So, she was bound and determined she wasn't going to die on the toilet. But I will tell you this, having survived that this past year, because April 21st was her 1 year anniversary of passing, it was so difficult for me to walk in her room. It was difficult for me to walk down that part of the hallway. I had to get rid of my rug. I couldn't even look at in my living room. I couldn't even sit in my living room because, my first view of her body was her covered in a yellow tarp on a rug in my living room. And it was so difficult. So I fully understand and what your dad was going through. It was my fear that, she would die in my arms, but what a gift would that have been? But it's also something very traumatic. So I understand the fear fully. So when we start talking about these changes, because I've had a lot of time this past year and I've had a lot of ancestral memories coming back from wisdom that my grandfather has given, that my mom gave me over the years. And a lot of it has to do with this topic today. And, we hear it in cliches as we're growing up because it's not whether you fall off the horse, it's that you got back on it. It's not that you fell down, it's that you picked yourself back up. So when we are forced to pivot or change, or when we're forced to stop and face things, it's how we deal with it. It's how we react to it that really defines us as human beings. Because, once you're born, death, taxes, and change is pretty much all you have that's certain
Mhm.
this world. So I apologize to everybody right now for my voice being like 3 octaves lower, and I'm a little winded, having an allergy attack today. So I'm not going to talk as much. I'm sure the ladies will be happy about that. But um
You can hold
yeah,
up a sign. You can get a whiteboard.
I just remember like the first time I had a wreck in the car, my grandfather was like, make that kid get behind the wheel as fast as possible. Otherwise they'll never get back behind the wheel, kind of thing. And, I had already learned that. I'd already fallen off, I don't know how many horses by the time I was 10 years old. So, I knew to get back up on the horse. When you're a little kid, you doesn't matter whether you're breaking an arm or what, you tend to bounce back from that. Now that at 53, that's not quite the thing. But I will say that as an adult person, some of the most pivotal changes where I was forced to start over, I was in the process of moving to Toronto. We had packed up a trailer, was pulling it behind our truck. We were going to live in a trailer outside of Toronto, and I was going to be working up there. And we quite literally got not even 40 miles down the road. We were up between Louisville and Denton, and a tandem 18-wheeler came about 6 inches from sideswiping us, and the backwash of that made us fishtail the trailer.
Hmm.
And I had exactly 2 days to get to Toronto to claim my job. I'd already left my job, at least out my house, and they forced us to have the trailer towed. They wouldn't let us tow the trailer, even though it was movable at the time. So we had to leave it there. We paid them like $230 for the towing fee and 2 weeks of storage. And a few days later, my then mother-in-law went to pay some more money on the trailer, and they had already emptied the trailer out and sold the trailer.
Wow.
Even though Texas law, we have like 30 days before technically, or whatever, 60 days before legally they could do that. But apparently they heard we're moving to Toronto. We'll get back to you in a week or two. And I guess they just thought we were never coming back. So I lost everything except for what I could fit in the back of that tiny little pickup truck. Family heirlooms, our family photo albums, everything. So, what do you do when you're forced to start over? But learn the power of manifestation. And I literally, it's something when your cup is truly empty, what you can manifest and fill it with. It was literally got to a point where I could just say, because I had quit smoking, my husband hadn't. So I was like, baby, it'd be nice to have a little TV tray and a little plastic chair out on the balcony so you could smoke your cigarettes, and that way, be protected from the weather. And literally 5 minutes later, walk outside, and sitting on the sidewalk next to our truck is a folding TV tray and a plastic chair, or, hey, I'd like to have a computer center, an entertainment center to match the desk that we just bought, kind of thing, and be walking in from work that night and they're wheeling one that matches perfect wood grain and everything out of an apartment in your building. So, just manifesting things left and right. So change can be a very good thing for me. It's sometimes, very often, it's a traumatic change. It's those most dramatic changes that cause the most destruction. So there's that saying that in order to really create new things, you must first destroy the old. In order to grow new crops, you've got to raise that field, and you've got to burn down the remnants of what's left there to put the new stuff so that you can plant new stuff. Or sometimes you might even have to let it lie fallow for a year or two, and so it's amazing to me how when life changes, it mimics what's happening with the earth and with crops and with the seasons of the cycles. And so, and you guys that read Tarot, I read Tarot as well, but that Tower card is supposed to be destruction, but it's really, when you look at it deeper, it's actually creation, but it's creation through destruction, and it's change, often rapid change, when I look at it. So I don't fear change anymore. I will say this though, I prefer change that I can control over change that I can't.
Yes. Yes.
Liar. You're lying to yourself. You can't
No, I
control
can't.
anything.
In,
You
in my
can't
walk,
control anything.
no,
Okay,
but
but what
I like
about
the
the
illusion of control.
what about I guess one of the reasons I've been thinking about it is because I'm ready to make a change.
Uh-oh. Trouble's back in town.
Change.
I have been looking for jobs in Houston. I'm
Oh,
ready to
wow.
make a change.
Well, Houston is a great area to live in. A lot of growth down there right now.
Did you ask any of us if we were going to let you move to Houston? Excuse me.
No, I
don't
didn't
think-
ask you.
I think she's a
No.
grown-ass woman and doesn't need any of our permission to do it. She can make her
Oh,
own
yes, she does.
she can still get on this call every Monday at 1:30 from Houston.
That's not the same. No, but there is you made a decision, you want something different. And so you have focused on one thing. That doesn't mean that that will be the change that comes, but it doesn't mean that you won't have change come.
I'm pretty sure I will have change come.
Yeah.
There,
change will come.
there's change coming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, Robert and I have had this big discussion about, do each of us get our own place? Do we still want to find a place together? It's funny when you turn 65, your kids are trying to shelter you.
Mhm.
Not
At
mine.
least mine
They
are.
didn't get the memo.
My child says to me, let's consider something in the same apartment complex. He said, that way I can be nearby and still support you if you need it.
I like that. That's a fair option. That way he can get his nookie and you can get your nookie and y'all don't have to hang a sock on the door or nothing. Y'all can get it done. I like that idea.
Mama gets more nookie than baby boy does.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know.
She's an innocent woman, pure as the driven snow, Deborah. So on this concept of because you mentioned you can't control change, you can't control anything, and I'm kind of two minds about that because there is changes that you can control. You can make conscious choices to change things, or
You can decide what toilet paper you want to buy.
or
you can do things like,
but you can. But the thing is here in my walk of faith, we've got this concept called Sethian fire. Okay. And it's an ancient Egyptian concept. And basically, it's the difference between a lightning strike coming down and raising a farmer's field and lighting it on fire, or burning the forest down, depending on one's point of view, or you purposely going out there and burning it in a controlled fashion, because you're still going to reap the same benefits. You know, the soil is going to be renewed, the new space will be made for new things to grow and manifest. However, the main difference was one was a change that was instigated purposefully with conscious thought. It was tended. It was, the fire was tended so that it didn't get out of control, and you burned only those areas of your life that you wanted. Whereas that Sethian fire is that fire from God, fire from deity, or fire from the universe, depending on one's walk of faith.
Yeah, but what is it? What you're talking about is making a choice about action, not choice about the results. Okay, because you don't know if just because you burnt the field.
But you're still going to get the same growth from burning the field, whether
Not
the lightning struck it.
Not necessarily.
The difference is that, because honestly, the same nutrients go into the soil. The main difference is I'm only burning this part over here, whereas if the Sethian fire comes down, it's not tended. It can burn out of control and burn everything. So there's
I understand the fire, and one is a choice that you made and one is a choice of nature, but those are choices, but that doesn't mean that you actually have control. That's a fallacy. That's an illusion, because you have no idea if it's going to rain enough next year for those crops to come in. You don't know if the seed is going to be rotten when you get it. You don't know if the bears are going to come and eat everything up.
It still has the same potential, though, Deborah.
That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about making things happen. We're not talking about potential. Those are two different subject matters.
No, we're talking about pivotal choices how did you handle it? How did it grow?
No,
And some
pivotal
choices,
pivotal changes. And most of
so
those
change,
pivotal
okay,
changes,
so,
we don't
but
have any
Joy, but
control
here's the
over.
deal though. Changes come from either things that are thrust upon you or from conscious choices that you make. There's no in between there.
Oh, yes, there is.
No,
Because
there's not.
life happens, and you have all these people around you that are
Ag-
making pivotal changes and making
Again,
choices that affect
again,
you in your life. You
again,
know, my
there's
family
no in between.
constantly
It's
makes
either thrust
changes and
upon you,
choices that affect me
but
that
you're
didn't
saying the same thing
consult
I'm
me.
doing. You're saying the same thing I am, Deborah, but just still disagreeing with me. I don't understand that because
Because it does
the
make a
thing,
difference to think that we're going to do certain things and always get the same result is setting ourselves up to
for
being very
insanity.
tunnel visioned, very tunnel visioned.
Yeah, but you're not going to always get the same results from different choices. The circumstances will change. That's not the point.
I'm going to tell you right now,
What-
every time I dressed up like a hoochie, I got a new husband. I do know that.
Well, honey, I wish I could say that every time I dress up like a hoochie, I got laid, but that didn't happen.
Oh, that's
So
easy. That's the easy part of life. Men are like a bus. They're like buses. There's one on every corner. You just got to wait long enough.
Oh
speaking
my
of
Lord.
changes, one of my old dear friends who's passed away in recent years gave me some advice. So two pieces of pivotal advice I'll never, ever, ever thing, and it kind of loosely relates. One of them does anyway. The first one that he gave me was men are like Kleenex. You use them once and toss them away.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
God.
I don't believe that, first off, but he did. And then the second thing that he gave me, and I think is the most valuable piece of advice I think I've ever gotten in life, one of the most valuable pieces, and that was always ask for lobster. You can settle for tuna if you have to, but you're never going to get lobster unless you ask or unless you put yourself out there for it. And so I look at these pivotal moments in life where your life had to change course, whether it was thrust upon you or whether you made the conscious choice to do so. Kind of like that. If you've always just ask for lobster, because you can survive off of tuna if that's all that's available, but if you ask for lobster, chances are sooner or later you're gonna get it.
I don't like lobster.
Then crabs or clams or steak or whatever. You're at that steakhouse. What's that, Bear's Den Steakhouse every other day?
Oh
Every
no,
other
no,
week?
that's a little diner. Black Bear Diner. Oh my God, it's so good. I get the
Yeah.
chicken fried steak there.
Okay. I
Luann
don't know.
gets those sweet cream pancakes. Oh, we should go there for dinner
Where's the
Thursday
Black
night.
Bear Diner? I must have been confusing it with the Bear's Den Steakhouse in Mesquite.
What? I
Well,
don't know
this
where that is.
place is in Mesquite. It's called Black Bear Diner.
Oh, okay. It used to be a steakhouse before it was a diner. Then
Oh.
over there in front of Kroger, off of Beltline and between Beltline and Galloway.
I don't think so.
I can't place that. I don't know where that is.
Yeah, if it's in Mesquite, then it's probably right there at Lake June Beltline.
What is?
The Black Bear Diner.
No, it's over there by Town East Mall.
Yeah, it's across the freeway from.
Okay,
my
in that case,
God.
I am thinking of a different place then.
Mhm.
Either that or they moved. I don't know. But
Oh my
anyway,
God. This
what I'm
is,
saying
we
is,
get so
you like
derailed easily.
Well, so do you feel that there's a significant difference than being thrown into a pivotal moment, something that you didn't control, and something you feel like that you had a conscious decision over?
Well, here's the deal though. Even when here's the deal, because and this is probably where Deborah and I will disagree. I don't know, is there is always a choice. Even people that say I had no choice, there is always a choice. It's just that choice might be between the lesser of two evils, but there is always a choice. So even in that moment when life is being thrust upon you, you have choices to make, and those choices are yours. Sometimes people make those choices without thinking them through, and then sometimes people take and make the choices by stopping and thinking. But either way, even when life thrust it upon you, I didn't choose to have my mom leave me, but I had a choice on how I was going to react and act, and how I was going to allow it to affect me.
Yeah, but
You
see,
know?
you hit it on the head right there. We can't make choices about the physicality of this world around us all the time,
Mhm.
but we can make choices on how we deal with it and how we handle it and that type of thing. So, the bottom line is that the only thing that we truly can control is our own actions and even our thoughts, and sometimes we have the right thoughts and we choose not to act on them.
Yeah.
I've been in a few places where I could have acted better maybe, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to, and I chose not to. So
Well, and when my parents passed, I didn't know how to act. I didn't
I
know.
bet.
I truly didn't know whether I was up or down, or I was spoiled as a child.
You
I
still
was
are.
I was an only child. I was told many times by my mother, "You're gonna grow up, go to college, and meet some nice young men and get married."
But you lost your whole world when you lost both your parents. You're living at home, they're your support system,
Yeah.
they're your parents. I'm assuming that you were good friends on, at least several levels because you counted on their advice and their input. You
Right.
shared their worldview for the most part because
Probably. Yeah.
they taught you. So when you lost them, you lost your entire foundation.
Well, and it was just me and them, and I did have grandparents, but my aunt came along, my mother's sister came along and took them
Mhm.
away too.
Oh, wow. Damn.
So
Just left you in the house by yourself? Did you have to move out or?
no, it was my parents' home was paid for, but I couldn't stay there. I couldn't tolerate it. I couldn't tolerate walking in the house without them there.
Yeah.
So that's how deep your grief was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That
But
makes sense.
I guess that's why I raised my kids to be so independent. So all of that pivoting I had to do had a direct correlation on how I treated my children.
Well, it changed who you were.
Oh
You
yeah.
went from being sheltered and, to being very,
I,
very self-sufficient.
I tell the story. I barely knew how to use the washer and dryer. I'm
Oh my
21
God.
years old. And I tell the story about mowing the yard on a riding lawnmower.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, it kind of goes like this.
You made the choice, but see, the thing is, you made those choices to figure those things out. You had to, right?
Well, yeah.
Your choices were do it or don't. Do it
Yeah.
and survive or don't, and basically
Right.
maybe not survive as well. I wrote an article a long time ago. It was published in a little regional journal in Toronto, Canada area, Ontario, and it was all about manifesting change through the words that we speak and making choices. Because there's that old saying, wherever you're at, that's where you are, or wherever you are, that's where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we all made choices to get there, right? People often feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously when we're born, the minute we're born, we have this unlimited potential. We have potential to achieve or do or be anything because it's unwritten. And then while we're in those early stages, our potential can sometimes be limited or increased by the choices that our caregivers, our parents, our guardians, whatever, make for us. And then if they're doing their job correctly, then they're going to empower us to start making our choices. And no matter where we're at some point, whether we consciously or subconsciously made that choice, we made a choice to accept that or be where we're at. So the premise of this article was, if you don't like where your life is at, or you don't like what you're doing, you need to change direction, right? Then start making different choices, right? It doesn't have to be a major life change, because when you start thinking of goals sometimes and the changes you want to make, sometimes it's too big. So you start with little baby steps, little changes to reach those goals, and you make them measurable. And it can be something simple like, well, today I'm going to start putting 2 scoops of cream instead of 4 in my coffee. I'm going to turn right at this intersection instead of left and go to work the other way. You start making small changes, and eventually the bigger changes come easier. and when you're ready, and eventually you're going to find yourself in a whole different place. I think Felicia Rashad said it best, that if you don't like the road you're on, direction you're going, then switch directions. But the universe or God can't help you if you don't at least pick a direction and tell them what you want.
Yeah.
Right. So, so whether we're, having a pivotal moment or if a minor pivotal moment, depending on one's point of view, it can all just little things can lead to such greater blessings in our lives,
Oh yeah, I think I think now that I was gonna say mature, but I'm not sure I qualify. I may be 60.
There's mature and then there's maturity, different things.
There's old and foolish too.
I may go in that category.
Sometimes the twain shall intertwine.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't think talking about this would upset me.
But you know what? For me, I like change, and I have a lot of change in my life. I have, I've been trying to break down my life into chapters so I can start writing my book, because people seem to enjoy my stupid mistakes in life and stuff and hearing about them. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, I don't even know where to start sometimes, because it's like I've had like 10 different lives, very definitive lives. And that's not counting all the little other things, but they all meant something to me, or they all changed my perspective, or they gave me new ideas and stuff. And here I am at my age starting a new business as well. And I like change. I can't imagine not having a lot of change. And I've always seen change as something very positive and very wonderful, and always gives me a lot of hope. And
I think it can. I just I prefer to think now to think that, okay, I would like to change this to experience something different. So I like to be more in control of what I do next as far as change goes. Now,
Sure.
you can't always do that, but I think that also plays off of how I had no control. I mean, I've been in those positions where you had absolutely no control over what was going on. All the factors that affected you were happening kind of outside of you. And so you did not make any conscious choices to make yourself change, or to be miserable, or to be happy, or.
So it kind of feels like you're living in a zombie apocalypse at times, and you're just trying to stay alive.
Right. That's the way it felt. But now, even in the last 25 years, I just feel like that I've made decisions that I felt were good for me.
Well, that's good. That's really good. I just, it's really funny. I have accomplished a lot by my standards, at least in my life, but I don't think any of the things I've accomplished, I ever sat down and said, I'm going to do this.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've always been the kind of person like, what's in the basket today? And let me see what I'm going to take out and play with and see what I can do with. And sometimes it's worked out and sometimes it hasn't. And really the worst mistakes that I have made have all been in part with personal relationships.
All right.
And that's because I don't hold people accountable enough, because I always was hopeful that they would rise to the occasion and be their best them.
Well, I think that I feel that way too. You always want to put the best in the people that are closest to you.
Right. And it's really funny because I'm a very snarky, sarcastic person, and I say a lot of things that come to me naturally, but it's not what I really believe at my core. I believe that we have choices, but that doesn't mean that we can facilitate and control all the change in our life. We can handle our own reactions, and we can make choices based upon how we're going to deal with them. Like, when I found out that my husband was gay, what did I do? I could have done a lot of things, but what I did is I stole his boyfriend. Was
that an appropriate response, Deborah?
I think it was.
Okay.
you know, because he didn't share much in our marriage. That's the least he could have done at the very.
Wow, I don't know. I don't know how I would react in that position. I really don't.
But it was very sad. I mean, I can laugh about it, and I could laugh about it even when it was going on. But at the same time, it was very sad because I had a marriage that I was ending. I did love my husband. He was awfully mean to me because of whatever he was going through. He tried to make me think I was crazy. I had no control over that. So all I could do was what I could do to make sure that I wasn't crazy. So I went to counseling. That was a choice. I got clarity about what choices he was making and how they were affecting me. And then I decided, damn it, I wanted to have what made me feel like I had some power left, because I felt like he'd taken all my power away. But, you know, back then we didn't call it ghosting and gaslighting and all this. We just called
Yes,
it being,
we didn't have a name for it then.
yeah, it was just being hateful and being mean. And so I took his boyfriend away from him. But honestly, if I'm going to be completely authentic, part of me hoped that deep down he would see that this man was nothing but a tramp and didn't really love him. And maybe he would see that maybe we had something worth working for, even though he was gay and I wasn't. So, you know, foolish me, naive me. I was a baby. So, but I did think that.
Well, you were also a victim of the world around you that said, "Oh, you can't be gay. You have to be married. You have to like women. You have to, you know."
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
that was what was going on in society.
You know, and I
Because
was open to all kinds of suggestions. I remember I wrote him this wonderful letter, and it had like a list of 10 different options that we could explore in our marriage, because I truly enjoyed his company, and I truly enjoyed, we worked together in our private investigation company. I truly enjoyed working with him when he wasn't being mean to me. And he was very intelligent, and we, you know, there were just a lot of things that were great in our relationship, in my mind. And even to this day, he agrees with that. So I'm like, you know, we don't have to destroy the relationship, but in his mind, we did. And I get that. Again, that was his choice. That was
right.
his decision. And again, that all I could do was choose how I was going to react to it. And I was ugly about it for a while. And then I was fine with it, you know? So
Yeah, I can see that too. It wasn't until after my mother passed that I found out that she actually sent a letter to my high school boyfriend. Of course, he was 13 years older than me,
oh, wow.
but she put an end to our relationship.
Well, that sounds like that
Or
might have
what
been
I meant.
appropriate, though.
It wasn't, because you know, she thought that it was going to interfere with me going to college, and I had already made up my mind to go to college.
Yeah, but
Nothing.
how old were you? 17 and he was 29, 30?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have done the same thing. Depends. It depends, especially in that timeline that, you know, back in that.
What does
they
that
did.
look for, Crystal?
You were
You got a bug in
16
your
and he was
eye?
39. You said he was 29 or 39?
When I met
wait
him,
a-
I was 16 and he was 13 years older.
That's why I
Yeah.
was sitting here going, what? What did I
Yeah.
miss?
Yeah. And her mother wrote him a letter to end the relationship. And I'm like, that sounds kind of appropriate, but to me.
Yeah, at 16 versus 29, it does sound appropriate. But then also got to remember at that time frame, it was not uncommon to be married at 16. It wasn't, especially to an older man in this part of Texas, or even
Yeah, but
like
her
where
mother
I grew up
wanted her
in.
to go to college and all that, and didn't
Yeah.
want her to limit her
Well,
options.
we
so.
were together until I was 18.
Yeah,
It
'cause
was like February or March when he broke off with me my senior year.
my mom had just barely turned 14 when she married.
Did you do it with him? Did you do it? Did you do it? Did
Now,
you do it?
do I kiss and tell?
Well, I don't know.
Yes.
Do you?
If you're a good Judy, you kiss and tell your Judy, tell your friends. You might not tell everybody else, but you tell your friends.
I mean, my God.
We had a very wonderful relationship.
They did it. I knew it.
A good relationship is always.
Yeah.
Your first is always special. Seriously. Even if they turn out to be a jerk, they're still a
Well,
fish.
my whole view was, I am going to do something where I can work in my hometown, where I can have my family and be with my parents and grandparents, and it's gonna, I think perhaps if we had stayed together, my reaction would have been different to losing my parents.
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe.
You know, it's kind of hard to
you would've-
second guess stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. But I could see myself married to him forever. So,
But you know what? I do have to give you a lot of credibility on thinking about that, because another pivotal change in my life was when my brother committed suicide.
mm,
And my husband that died was already dead. So, here's the thing, and that kind of hit me, because I'm speaking tomorrow at a place that's right across the street where my bail bond office was. And that was a pivotal change in my life, starting that
Yeah.
company. And so that's brought back a lot of things to me. And so, and again, it makes total sense to me that you'd have to leave your house or not want to be in your house when someone dies there that you care about, because my night manager was killed in my office and I had to get the
Oh.
hell out of Dodge. I couldn't stay in that office anymore, which
yeah,
is what put me
that's
into this
traumatic.
other office. And so Marvin's already dead. My husband's already dead. And several years later, my brother committed suicide. And I was already having trouble with my gay husband. And so there was a lot of things going on there. So I was really feeling really alone in my own life, raising children and things like that. But I had a dream where my dead husband came and rescued my brother and then took him away to go be in heaven. And I had that dream when I woke up at the same time that they placed his time of death on his death certificate.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you, I was fully prepared to go and deal with the circumstances of his death that morning when we got the call from the police, that
Wow.
I would not have been prepared if I had not had that dream. And I always felt like that was him reaching out to help me.
I think that is true. I mean, I think that can happen.
So I do not poo-poo the idea for you and Crystal having problems dealing with losing people in your home and stuff. I've never had anyone pass in my actual home. Marvin did not die in my home.
Mhm.
So that makes sense though, very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just difficult. Because like I said, either way, whether you love them or hate them, it's gonna leave an impression, and it will affect them.
Leave an impression in the couch, in the chair, somewhere, but it'll leave an impression. All right. So does that give you some clarity or anything about your question about pivotal changes?
Well, I'm ready to make another pivotal change.
Well, I
Do you have
just
any
say,
idea where you're going? How you're going to do that?
Well, I have to have a job.
well, I'm just gonna give you this piece of advice. Whatever you decide to do, just put your big girl panties on and do it. Like seriously, I was looking at some quotes about changes here, and one of them says that life happens whether you want it to or not. Change happens whether you want it to or not. So live your life to its fullest as you please.
Yep.
To hell with anybody else.
Yep.
And
Make sure you get a nice place if you go to Houston so I can come visit.
let's just face it. I mean, you guys know some of my personal story and my personal history. Few people, no, they're not that many. I mean, there's a lot of people, but not as many as one would think. That let's face it, I've made some major starting over changes in my life in the last 10 years. I went from living out of country to living in country. I went from New York to Texas. I went from being celibate to being a hoochie. I went from, I went through a wild streak, and then I decided I don't want to be a hoochie no more. I just want a real relationship. And couldn't find a date to save my life. And then finally, boom, out of nowhere, here comes this 6'3", 6'2", whatever, however tall he is, little country boy from Elgin, Texas, that I met online while he was stationed in Iraq. And here we are 12 years later. celebrating 12 years of togetherness, and in a few months we'll be celebrating 1 year of actual marriage. So, to which Deborah couldn't come because she's too busy working a gig.
I didn't have any control over my life because I was working for someone else. Now I can tell someone else to go work the gig, and don't have to miss those things anymore.
Yeah,
So-
that's okay.
and she fails to mention the fact she planned it in a week. It's not like I got a lot of notice either. You know, it's
That's
not like it was
true.
on the
That's
calendar for 6 months and I could have rejected anything and said, no, I'm
That's-
booked.
That's true. That's true. You know, I'm just
You see
saying
how she
choices.
throws me under the bus? Mhm.
Choices.
Throws me under the
You
bus.
chose to make a paycheck. I can't blame you for that. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. You know why? Because I chose to spend all my money on my children, and I spent a lot of my not my inheritance, but my investments on them and their mental health. So now I'm not retiring when I want to do, but that was a choice.
Yeah.
And I don't regret that choice, but because you know what's weird is that even though I was very resentful to be put in this position because of circumstances that I did not have any control over, but I chose to go this direction, I'm loving it. I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast. And I'm meeting interesting people. And I have people that are hugging my neck and telling me that they appreciate me helping them and giving them words of encouragement. And I'm getting paid to do what I love to do. And I'm having a good time.
I'm with you there, Deborah, because when change is thrust upon you, sometimes you have to make that choice for, especially if it's a difficult choice for change. One of the things I've learned recently is because, like I said, it was always my dream to be an educator and I specifically wanted to educate in aesthetics. And, you know, I've been teaching for a decade now, almost, give or take. And I was at a job, and when I first started the job, it was so joyous. And then, you know, change of ownership, change of management. And I went from being celebrated and promoted to being torn down and demoted for no reason other than, you know, still high marks, still high everything. I mean, hell, I had just gotten an $8,000 a year raise before, like just a month or two before I was demoted to part-time. Like, let's face it, I had, so I literally that quickly. And so I had to make a choice to follow my dreams and be happy, or stay there and keep building somebody else's dream in the security that, okay, it's a paycheck and it's benefits and it's medical insurance. And I'm here to tell you, one of the lessons I learned from that, I learned two things: know when it's time to leave the party, because sometimes, you know, it's not healthy to stay at a party past a certain point. And number two, when you try to hold on to things when you're meant to change and meant for better things, sometimes you cause more damage and it hurts more to stay and hold on than it is to simply let go.
Yep. I agree with you 100% on that. And
Yep.
My own business.
it was hurting me to be where I was, and I was miserable. And I had already, the fact that I was even willing to make some of the decisions that I made told me how unhappy I was, because I was willing to risk everything I thought I had and losing it for something different because I didn't like it anymore. And it was sucking the joy out of what I was doing and being around people and practicing my gifts. So Luann, if you go to Houston, I support you 100%, but I will miss you.
Well, you know, I do get retirement. So really what I'm looking for is a part-time job, 20 hours a week, to kind of supplement what's going on with me. And I kind of decided that if I get the job here, I stay here. If I get the job in Houston, I go there.
Makes sense to me.
So
Makes sense to me. Follow the money. Follow the
Because-
money.
because just 20 hours a week will make my life better, where I can do a few things that I want to do and still pursue my herbs.
Well, I'm going to build this up so that Scarlett can take it over when she graduates high school, and she can use this to pay her tuition in college. So
There you go.
I got a plan. I just got to get everybody on board with it now, because I have so much control over everybody else.
Of course you do.
You know, that's not, I will want to say this and then we can close. I get accused of being a control freak by people that think that they know me well, but they obviously don't, or they wouldn't say that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I could control certain people in my life the way they accuse me of it, they wouldn't be doing any of the shit that they're doing. They wouldn't be doing it because I'd make them stop. They wouldn't be in the relationships they're in. They wouldn't be living where they are. They wouldn't be doing what they're
Me
doing
like
for a living.
scenario.
Do what?
That reeks to me of parent-child conversations and
It is. It is.
because
You know,
I've had those conversations between me and my mother, and and I know for a fact my mother's had those conversations between her and her other kids, i.e. my brother and sister in the past. So yeah.
well, let me
Choices.
just be specific. Let me just be specific. My son's significant other has accused me of controlling him. And I said, well, if I could control him, he wouldn't be with you. So obviously I don't control him. So, you know, I just want to get that clear. If you're the person in control and you really are controlling the way everyone wants to say that, don't you think it would make sense that they're getting a lot of the things that they want? And I'm not getting anything from that side of the fence the way I want it. So
Here's the deal though, Deborah. In that particular instance, this is where that control truly is an illusion, because it's a different, you're not controlling them. You just have standards and you have minimum expectations that they are failing to rise to, and you're insisting that they rise to minimum expectation. And I learned this as an educator. I hope for great things for each of my students, but at the very least, I need you to show up, provide minimal effort, and meet minimum expectations. If you exceed beyond that, that's great. But I was very often told I was tough and I was demanding, but I'm just trying to hold them to the minimum expectations set by the company, right? I have no control over that what that minimum expectation is, but I'm the controlling.
Yeah, you're just there to reinforce it.
Yeah.
Wash your body, wash your pits, wash your face, be kind, you know, pay attention to your responsibilities, you know. Life is real simple. It really is. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I'm figuring that out more and more as I get older. So, Crystal, tell them how we can get a hold of you and get a facial and all that other stuff.
Come see us here at Baruti Spa for all of your facial and hair removal needs. You can reach us at www.barutispa.com, or you can find us on Instagram at Baruti_spa, or on Facebook at Baruti Spa or Baruti Knows.
Otherwise, she's at Baruti Spa
in downtown Garland at 618 West State Street. 469-298-2435. Leave a message if we don't answer the phone. We'll get back to you.
All right, Lou-Ann, tell them about you.
I have a herbal business called Herbal Lou's Apothecary. I do things like elderberry syrup and some other cough syrups and throat sprays. I do body butter.
Some of your elderberry syrup if you got some in stock, everybody.
It's on the list for cooking this week.
Like a gallon, seriously.
And I do some metaphysical products because I am associated with a large metaphysical group. So you could go to www.herbal-lu.com and my information is there.
My favorite product is Bitch Be Gone. It's a wonderful spray. It doesn't work on me, so it tells you I'm not a bitch, or I would be gone.
She named that herself. Yeah.
What is it called?
Clearing spray, Deborah.
Yeah, bitch be gone. Spray. Exactly what I said. Clearing spray. Bitch be gone. Get out of here. So I'm Deborah Rose, Deborah Colleen Rose, Private Investigations, Investigative Solutions Group Unlimited. We do background checks, due diligence, and all kinds of stuff. No, I will not spy on your girlfriend, so don't call me. If you want to know what she's doing, buy her some roses and ask her. She'll tell you she's screwing around on you because you're not paying attention to her. All right. And then we have Miles of Smiles Entertainment. We have fortune telling and lip print readings and handwriting analysis and comedians and violin music and all kinds of stuff to make your parties and events and corporate events more funner, more gooder.
Yeah, more gooder, more well better.
Yeah. And everybody on my team is vetted. They are accredited in what they do. They're professionals, and we're just damn good at what we do. So milesofsmilesevents.com, isgu.com, and we do this every Monday. If you want to hear something special that you want to hear us just regurgitate or whatever, contact us and we'll put it on the show. Tell everybody bye.
Bye.
All right, let me see what I can do here. No, I can't find the record button. There it is.